Good evening. Welcome to Intro to Business and Technology, and it is my pleasure to share this lesson with you. We're moving into our ice cream sales project. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to go over our actual lesson plan just to give you the highlights, and then I'll go in to show you what the course looks like as I'm teaching it. So we're starting out with this ice cream sales project. And in terms of representation, we have an exemplar Excel model, and I'm going to demonstrate that model for you in just a moment with some of the example graphs, as you can see here. And this is actually a model of what the spreadsheet should look like. So in terms of what the students are going to be doing, they're going to be following 4 screencasts for formatting in Excel, working in Excel formulas, conditional formatting, and also how to create Excel graphs. So these are the project instructions that are linked here. I'll be able to go and show you what they look like shortly. And we also have, in terms of the engagement, there's going to be an exploration that they're going to do of Miami. They will also be going into an engagement area for Canada. And they'll also be able to listen to live podcasts, or recorded podcasts, actually. Okay, they'll be able to analyze the data, quarterly sales data. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, and then I'll show you the representation of what the graphs look like that they're going to actually create. The final expression is going to be a multimedia presentation that they will create, and they actually have a choice of creating in multiple platforms. They can either do it in maybe PowerPoint, which some of them are very familiar with. They can also use Canva. They're also allowed to use Adobe Creative Cloud. Any other program that they are kind of familiar with, such as Sway in the Office 365 tool set, they can use that also. So really they have choice, because it's important to give students choice. They're going to have a virtual room, which will be the Canada Virtual. They're also going to have a virtual room called Virtual Miami, and then they'll have a podcast channel. In those areas, they'll be able to go and take a look and see exactly what's going on, learn about Canada, learn about Miami, and see what impact that has on this project that they are beginning to work on. They'll have assessment opportunities. Assessments are created actually using Microsoft Forms, and they do have QR codes that they can scan. They can take it on their phone, or they can take the assessment by clicking on the link at the top of the team and then just going into the what we would call the quiz launch at the top of the screen. They will also create at the end a flip grid to allow them to reflect on the process, reflect on their experience, and just give an example of what they have learned. In terms of their summative assessment, they have that presentation which they will create, and this presentation, it's going to be looking analytically at the 2 companies, and they will also have to analyze the data and record an audio presentation or a video presentation, depends on what they are most comfortable with, and they will have to present their graphs, their charts, including all formulas which they've learned for Excel, and then they will have to give an explanation as to why they think the data looks the way that it does look. Throughout the entire course project, they will be working with the following tools. They'll be working with Flipgrid, they'll be working with Adobe Spark, that comes from the Creative Cloud. They'll be working in Nearpod presentations, PowerPoint presentations, Sway, and Canva. So that's pretty much what it looks like. If you want to take a look at the learning plan, they're going to take the virtual field trips, as I mentioned. I'll show you how that is set up. And then they'll be introduced to each of these areas. They'll have another area where they can go and take a look at information on ice cream making and adding flavors and so on and so forth. That's just an activity to really get them engaged. And then you'll see that they'll have a variety of screencasts that have been created where they can go into their channels or their breakout rooms. So they can go in there and work with a partner if they want to, or they can just go by themselves and watch the screencasts so that they'll know how to format their own spreadsheets. Okay? So that is what the lesson plan looks like. And as you can see, these are for, this lesson plan is actually designed for students in 11th and 12th grade. And this is the course, Intro to Business and Technology. And it takes approximately 4 days to complete this. Okay, so let's go into the team and see what it looks like. So the first thing you'll notice is I do have an exemplar for what the presentation is going to look like, because most of the time students want to know, well, how many slides or what should we include. Even though you've given them the details, they still want to actually see something to see how possibly they can do it. So let's start out first of all with under the Files tab. You see that we have recordings for them. We have the project documents, and this is where I would like to start. And in the project documents, this is the actual document that I was showing you that was linked in the lesson plan. And I go over this with our students, explaining that this project really requires that they format the data. I've provided the data for them for 2 ice cream stores, and they're going to format it in Excel. And what they'll do is they will have to answer some questions about their observations of the data. So the 2 locations are Slabs Ice Cream Store, which is in Ontario, Canada, and then Vibes Ice Cream Store, which is in Miami, Florida. I've given them quarterly data, the sales for just 3 flavors, vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. And you'll see that the data varies in the quarters. It also varies according to the location. Remember, there are 2 locations, Ontario, Canada, and Miami, Florida. As you can tell, the weather is quite different there, right? Okay. So these are the quarterly data figures that I have given them. And I actually give them the unit price that each ice cream sells for right here, $2.25. So now for each store, this is what I'm asking them to do. They are going to provide the total dollar sales for each quarter, the total dollar sales for the year, in total sales in dollars, and each flavor per quarter. And then they have to give the total number of units sold. So we're looking at the calculation for the dollar amount that's sold, and also we're looking at the actual number of units sold in each of the flavors, and then determining which is the best seller according to flavor. And also they have to look and see, well, where are the best sales? What quarter is it in? So then I'm asking them to think about the data and think about how they could set this up. There are multiple ways that they could do it on a spreadsheet, but the aim is to give them a good understanding of how to create and set up this data in the most logical manner based on the calculations that I've asked them to utilize. Now, I do give them these 2 hints right here. So each company should have its own worksheet. So we've got the workbook that we are creating. So this is where we get into the learning of the details of Excel and what it has to offer us. So we have a worksheet for each company, and then we have a worksheet for the reports and the graphs, and then that is all that I'm giving them. Now, I've given them sufficient to understand exactly what they need to do. So now let's go back and see what else have I given them. Well, That's in their projects. They also have, I'm going to show you the actual exemplar here and now for the spreadsheet. Now this is after they've had some time to try to figure it out themselves, see what makes sense, how do I format this data. So I give them this exemplar right here. So let me see if I can just move this up a little bit, make sure that you can see it. There we go. So the first thing they do is they learn basically how to create this cover, which is just merging and centering and working with the text size and color fill. So they learn how to do this first of all. They create their own cover sheet, and then they're going to create these sheets, 1, 2, 3, actually 4 of them, and they're going to rename them. One is named the cover, and as the instructions had said, you can have one worksheet for each company. So this is the vibes and this is the slabs, and then I encourage them to use colors for the tabs. Like if they right click on the tab, they can come down to tab color and select the color that they want to use. So I encourage them to use a warm color for Miami vibes, because Miami is considered to be warm. And then for slabs, which is in Ontario, Canada, I encourage them to use a kind of a cool color, so that's why you see the blue. Now the graphs, this is another tab where they will actually start to create the graphs from this data, and then they will assemble their graphs on this sheet. We'll go to that in just a moment. So looking at vibes, you'll notice that vibes here carries the color and it carries the actual flavors. So let's just expand this a little bit. Good. So now we can see this is how we set the data up, the 3 flavors and the total. This is our total line. And then we have our quarterly unit sales, and then we have our quarterly sales in dollars for quarter 1. And we repeat this all the way through quarter 4. And then they are required to give me the calculation for the annual units, and then give me the calc for the annual sales. So in teaching this portion, we get to work with the sum function. For example, when we come down and they type this data in directly from the project worksheet that they're given, when they put this data in and they click right here, they would be ready to use the sum function. So once you click on the cell, I show them that I can see clearly if they go and take a calculator and just type the number in here. They actually have to use this function here, equal sum, so I get the opportunity to teach them the sum function in Excel. And also the short version, which is if they come over here to this symbol right here, the auto sum. Once they click that, it will sum everything above it. So we're good to go. Example would be, and this is exactly how I show them, if I take this data out, I can either say equal, and then I would put the sum in, S-U-M, and then what do I want to sum? I want to sum these right here, and then I would hit the enter and get that sum value. But rather than doing that, I just show them, put your cursor right here, and go into, let's see, here, AutoSum. And you see how they get to see the running ants going around the cell, confirm the cell that they want to sum. And this is the same sum function that AutoSum generates for them. So they don't have to literally remember equal sum, open paren, B3 colon B5, close paren. They just have to hit AutoSum, enter, and that's how they get their total. So I show them that once I click here, their formula shows up here, so I can see that they have used the formula. This right here is the amount, the unit price per unit of ice cream. So again, this sales figure right here is going to be a multiplication. So I get the opportunity to teach them how to do multiplication in Excel. The formula shows up right here. All formulas begin